is the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, which I think you've seen before because it was launched in April last year. But the difference between this one and the one that was launched last year is that this is a hybrid. And although hybrids are not new in Malaysia, it's the first time that Toyota is assembling a hybrid in Malaysia. And what's so special about hybrid? A hybrid, as you know, is a combination of an electric motor and a petrol engine. In this case, the Corolla Cross Hybrid has a 1.8 litre petrol engine and a small electric motor, both of which work together to move the car. And because the electric motor does part of the work, it reduces the amount of petrol that is consumed by the petrol engine, and so you have a lot of fuel savings. In fact, on our drive up to Penang, we got about around 6.7 litres per 100 kilometers, which is pretty good. That's according to the average display. So let's have a look at the engine and see what's the difference. Now, what's the difference between an ordinary Corolla Cross and a Corolla Cross Hybrid? When you open the bonnet and you look inside, basically what you see is almost a similar engine as the 1.8 version, because it has the same petrol engine, tuned to run differently for hybrid, but it also has this side, which is an electric motor side. So you've got electric motor here and the engine here, and there's a power split device somewhere in the middle that will make the two elements, two power sources collaborate. Now, hybrids are not actually new in Malaysia. They've been around for more than 10 years. And in fact, Toyota hybrids have been around 10 years ago, when the government was offering tax exemptions on hybrids and electric vehicles. And the Toyota Prius, which was the first mass-produced hybrid in the world, was also offered in Malaysia, and it was very popular at that time. And that was around, I think, the second or third generation of the hybrid system. It started in 1997. Since then, Toyota has really improved it a lot in terms of performance, in terms of refinement, in terms of, especially for the battery technology, which has, the first batteries were huge and heavy. Today, the battery, which is at the back of the car, is more compact, and it can actually store more energy. So, this is quite a mature technology already, and the costs are coming down, which is one reason why hybrid technology is more affordable than fully electric technology. There is another hybrid called a plug-in hybrid, but that's a little bit more expensive, and it's probably for the more premium products at the moment. For the mass market, the hybrid system like that is probably the best solution for us in Malaysia, given our infrastructure and our present conditions in the market. The interior is the same as a normal Corolla Hybrid. In fact, you'll get in and you wouldn't recognize the difference unless you look at the meters, where there are very specific displays to show the hybrid system. And it's very cool because you can actually see how the energy flows between the battery and the wheels, and sometimes it recharges. The way the battery recharges is either by the generator, or even when you're braking, when you're rolling down a hill and you lift off, it recharges, and it constantly recharges on the move, which means that you never run out of electricity in the battery pack. And when there's sufficient electricity in the battery pack, you can actually run in pure EV mode. That means you run only on electricity. And there's a button here where you can press and it will keep it in electric mode. But unfortunately, because it takes quite a lot of electricity to move the car, you can't travel for that far, maybe about 2 kilometers. So what I found when I drive a hybrid and I use this electric mode is that you can use it when you're going around, say in a car park looking for a parking space. Then you just press it and you go around very quietly, and for me it feels really good because I know I'm not wasting any petrol. And for those who are concerned about protecting the environment, you're not emitting any exhaust gases as well. So that's a pretty good thing. What else can I tell you about? Right, the system here is obviously Android Auto Ready and Apple CarPlay and all that. It has all the latest stuff to connect your smartphone, and with this version they also give you an optional wireless charging tray, but of course you need the phone that is compatible. Okay. Let's take a look at the back. At the back, this being a large SUV or other medium-sized SUV, there's plenty of space, and what I found is that there's plenty of leg room, and you've got aircon vents here, so you've got a lot of cool air coming in. One of the things about the air conditioning system in this hybrid is it's not the type that has been used in normal petrol engine cars. It's an electric compressor. That means it runs on electricity rather than the engine. And the interesting part about that is it can run even when the engine is not running. It's just taking power from the battery pack. When the battery pack power gets too low, then the engine starts up to recharge and keep the aircon going. This is a difference from some other hybrids, earlier hybrids, where when the engine stops, the aircon also stops, and then it starts to get warm inside. With this car, you don't. You can be waiting at a traffic light and you're still getting cool air. And it's rather unusual for me because normally when you're idling, you're really wasting a lot of petrol, which is why there are some systems like auto stop systems. And if you have the aircon on, you're wasting even more petrol. But with this, you can be running the aircon even when you're just sitting inside the car waiting for somebody, and you get cool air all the time. So it's a pretty efficient system. And the other thing about the aircon system is that it has what is known as S-flow. And if there's nobody, say, behind, most of the cool air will be concentrated at the front. And so there's no waste of cool air, and it's more efficient. It keeps the cabin cooler. So let's have a look at the boot. With the Corolla Cross Hybrid nowadays, you don't even have to use a key to open the back door, or you don't even have to put your hand there. You just do this, and it opens by itself. This is a very good feature, and I've had it on my own car for a number of years, and I find that it's really useful. Once you have it, you don't want to buy another car without it, because say you're going shopping at the supermarket and you have both your hands full, just putting your foot underneath to open it is great, totally hands-free. And when you're finished, you just put your foot back inside and it closes automatically. For safety, it will not work if the engine is still on, because there's a danger that the car might roll backwards. So Toyota thinks of all these things to ensure that nobody gets hurt accidentally. Okay, let's go for a drive. And the first thing that you will discover with a Corolla Cross Hybrid, or in fact any hybrid, is that when you start the car, well, we don't use a key nowadays, right? You press the button, nothing happens. And many years ago, the first time I started driving hybrids and electric cars, it was something that I was not used to, and I would keep pressing the button, and then the engineer would say to me, it's on, because all you do is you connect the circuit just like flipping a switch. So nowadays what they do is they put something there to tell you that it's ready to start. So the motor is ready to move you, and with a Toyota hybrid system, the initial phase of moving off is done by the electric motor. In fact, almost all the time, unless there's a situation where the battery is really very low. But the starting part, maybe for the first 5 seconds or 10 seconds, you only start in electric motor mode. So here we go. All right. This one shows that the motor, the battery was too low, so the motor had to start, the engine had to start charging the motor. So, move. And now we're moving in electric mode, which you can see is actually very silent and very smooth. It's really quite an experience when you drive an electric car. So as I said, if you're moving around in a car park searching for space to park, you can use electric mode and you're not wasting any fuel at all. Okay? So you stay in electric mode, and then when you start accelerating, the petrol engine kicks in to give you the extra power. And then the rest of it is really like any other normal car. The only way that you know what is happening is there's a display there, an energy flow meter that shows you what is happening between the electric motor and the battery and the petrol engine. It shows you the flows of power. Normally in the other hybrids, the older, bigger hybrids, there's a display here. But in this one, the display is down in the middle of the instrument panel, in the middle of the speedometer. So you can watch, but of course you need to keep your eye on the road as well. So shouldn't watch it too much. But it helps you to also optimize your driving. And if you see how often the electric motor is used, you can help to use it more by not pressing the accelerator so hard, and then you would save a lot of fuel. The other thing about being able to see the meter also is that you know when the battery is too low, although you can't do anything about it. But what I've observed is that it usually runs around about 50% or 60% capacity, and when you are driving really fast on the highway, say at 110 kilometers an hour, where you're using the petrol engine a lot, then it goes down to about 2 bars, which is about 20% like that. Although that means it is still using some battery power, but the petrol engine will be recharging it. And every time you lift off, the generator will continue to recharge the battery. So if you're going on a long journey, you'll find that you can save fuel because there's this alternation of electric power and petrol engine power moving the car. So if you ask how does it work, that's a big mystery, and that was actually one of the big challenges for the engineers at Toyota, to make sure that this switchover was as smooth as possible. In the early days, they had a lot of difficulty when they were working on the prototypes, and I remember I drove one of the prototypes in 1997, just before the first Prius, that's the world's first hybrid car, was launched. And it was very jerky when it switched over from electric motor to petrol engine and back again. And the chief engineer at that time, Uchi Yamada-san, he's the chairman of Toyota today, he told me, he said that was probably the biggest challenge his engineers had, because they wanted to make it as smooth as possible so that the driver would never feel it. And I think they achieved it, because when you drive it, you never really know whether it's electric motor or engine running, unless you have very sensitive hands on, say, the steering wheel. And then you can feel that when the engine is running, the vibration level is a bit higher. But generally, you find that it's very quiet driving this Corolla Cross Hybrid. And you find every journey will be really very enjoyable for you and the people who travel with you. Personally, I really do like hybrid, and I think that it's the way to go for future motoring, until we have electric cars that are cheap enough for people and also enough places for recharging so that they are not inconvenienced. And you can also help to save the planet while you're doing it, because the emissions are low and you use less fuel. So check it out, and maybe you might also agree with me that it's a great car to have.